Yo, 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 what's going on? Watchlist time. How's everybody doing? Get all settled in here. Make sure everything's running. Looks good on my end. We got the green light, so we're good to go. Made a post on Twitter today, basically praising the types of names that are moving right now. We have Open, which is trading billions of shares with a 1 penny spread, super thick. You don't get those swipe candles back and forth. And now we've got FFAI, GPRO, DNUT, KIRK, a bunch of these thick, like real companies that just, they have real liquidity. It's not like a small cap that's just churning and burning volume to create a market to play into their agenda. This is real volume with quote unquote real companies, small caps, but really looking forward to the latter half of this week, hoping that these names continue to set up. So, with the title on this, Open, it can't help but feel when these names come and go, by the time you finish executing your position, you can't help but feel like you underperformed a little bit. It's a bit frustrating because like you can never win at this game, where like me maybe a year or two ago, I would have made 1/10 the P&L what I did on this today. So I need to be grateful for that. The fact that I could handle the type of size that I was trading this morning. I was risking like a 10R off of a $5 risk, shorting up here into 4. Had moved that risk down once I started to add and risk first high a day. But as this was going against me in pre-market, my plan the entire time was to risk off a 5. And the odds on it breaking 5, like I said in the watch list yesterday, was like a 5% chance. And I'm going to take that trade 10 times out of 10. If it's going to work 95% of the time. So I started to build into this position. In addition to that 320s starter I had into close in case it gapped down, I could scale into that quicker. But I was down on it by about 80 cents by open. But I continued to add into this winner, or into this loser, just because I felt like the odds were stacked very heavily in my favor. So market opened. It played out exactly like shot. I can touch on that again, but I went through the other charts I was comparing it to yesterday on the watch list, and I hopped on the broadcast with Investors Underground. I could probably, let me see. I had retweeted it this morning, so it should be easy to find. Yep, right here. Copy this. Right there. So that was my game plan going into market open. I laid out exactly what I wanted to do. I basically said open was the only trade I was looking at taking today. What I was risking, what my plan was, and then I went over the chart reviews of other names I was looking at to play out similar to. And it played out really, really nicely. So we get the pull. It doesn't get back over 10, so I'm fairly sized versus 5, but my average at this point was like 380-ish. So risking off of 4, I wasn't down a ton. So it started to pull. I shorted some once we were sub VWAP, breaking this opening range low, and then we touched green to red. So I covered maybe about a fifth of a position there. And the plan this whole time was to short pops versus VWAP and look for that red roll. So I was adding, got back up to probably about a 5 or 6 hour risk versus high a day. And that would have been in addition to taking if I gave back this realized, I would have lost an additional 5R. So I was fairly aggressive here. And then we get that rollover red, and it pulls back right into prior day's lows here in the 280s. and I thought the pullback range was 260 to 280. So I covered half into 280, right into here as we started to speed up. And we got this quick reversal, which it shouldn't happen if this is going to stay heavy. It shouldn't swipe back. Over here, you see it swipe back and it doesn't get any higher. Right here, it swipes back and then just continues to build. It bounced from 280 to 380 basically, like a buck a share. That's absolutely insane. So I only covered half, and at this point I had like a 350 average. So I was comfortable down here. I'm up 70 cents and thinking if this maybe bounces back to red to green, I'm still up on my position, no big deal. And we just keep going and going and going and going. And I don't like covering just into straight up strength, because at some point you're going to get that emotional pivot point, the pain point, that's going to be people that are in my position that are short from over here. And VWAP was, right around 350. So I was short at VWAP average, basically. So as it starts exhausting through VWAP, that's going to be people's pain point because they were just up a ton. Now it's coming right back to their average. So I have that in the back of my head that I'm getting uncomfortable because I only covered half and I was risking like 5R off a high a day. So yes, I locked in about maybe a 2-to-1 trade right around here. But now it's coming back. I'm still fairly sized. And I start to second guess, is this going, like, we've got options. Are they going to want to hold this up till Thursday, Friday? We did pull back and retrace from $5 to $2.80. There's a 50% haircut. Like, is that all we're going to have? And I start second guessing my plan. When I come into today, my plan was to cover the flush, rescale pops, and swing it. So right here, this arrow, I took off the other half of my position for a slight gain, about basically flat, because I just needed a fresh head. It halted up and then slammed down immediately. I'm like, okay, let me just cover it all. I'll get to flat, and then I'll look at this at face value so that I'm not emotionally attached to what was going on. So then we get the hard crack, lower high. So I lean some, and I'm a super small position. I didn't have to cover here. It didn't matter at all. This could have gone back to $5. Now we top out and fail. So I short here, and I'm thinking to myself, this was the A+ move. If I covered it all here, I would have been up like a 10R, but I only locked in about 5 or 4 or whatever. So now up here, I'm thinking, like, if I take it off, I'm going to be giving back a few multiples and whatnot. So I'm starting to think P&L, and that's just not the way I want it to be. So anyways, I put on a 1R risk versus high a day, and I just thinking I'll risk maybe versus 370 once it tops out a little bit. I start to pack up thinking I'm going to get off desk, go to work. So I sized down for the most part. Just didn't want to be thinking about it. I had some few friends texting me throughout the day, kind of what was going on, keeping me updated. And once we started getting into this afternoon, this is weak enough. All pops versus VWAP are fading. It's very frustrating for me to see it down at $3 again after getting emotional up into those 330s, 340s. I knew in my heart of hearts that was the ad spot. I just couldn't bring myself to continue to add and possibly turn this massive win into a red trade if it came back through 4. So in hindsight, obviously I underperformed and wish I did it a bit differently. But also that's with the information I have right now, where if it came back to 4, we wouldn't be having this conversation. I would have been happy with those 340 covers and if it went all the way back. So it is what it is. Taking some lessons from it and trying to take some positive criticisms as they come. So I added into that winner from this bounce and risking towards this 330, 340 level. So far, gapping down here in after hours. Goal is a gap fill down to these mid to low 2s. If it's green by market open, I'll probably cover it and look to reattack. I just don't want to be forcing a bias. We did pull back basically to the 4 EMA. It's at like 240 and we pulled back to 250. So I think most of the range has come. I'm short overnight because typically first red days lead to second red days. This hadn't gone red in like 6 days, 7 days. This was the first time it closed red, the first time it had a weak afternoon. And if I'm looking for a backside bounce, my goal for range potential would be up into these low threes, into 310, 320. So for me to try and stay patient for that backside bounce, I'm going to try and hold this short for a pullback into this range, which would be an area that I would be interested in a backside bounce on. So that's kind of the thesis there. I just don't think shorts are ready to cover. I think this reached maximum dollar block where like retail, Peter doesn't have enough money to pay Paul, basically, if you've heard that saying, where investor number 2 can't pay investor 1. Like the pyramid scheme has kind of run out. And retail has no money. It traded 2 billion shares on that day with an average, what was the VWAP on that day? 370 times 2, $7.4 billion worth. And then once we were breaking here in the afternoon under this 310, you can see these consolidation levels and then these consolidation levels. There's just so many people underwater. If this were to get back above 310, 320, then I think it'd be kind of hands off. But yeah, until it reclaims those levels, I favor a fade. So ideally, this just gaps down. We get a pullback to the low 2s in the morning. I take off that swing position, look for a backside bounce, and then maybe reshort that bounce with a bigger picture swing idea. Once I think the pumper was on a bunch of news outlets and live streams and stuff today. And that was right around here. It ended. That was why I came back to desk around here. And then right here, so he was on live all through here from 2 to 3 p.m. And he got off of one live stream. And once he ended it, it went up. So, yeah, there was him pumping the stock on Twitter. Obviously had a lot of chasers and retail involved, and then once he promoted it to the masses online today via live stream, it couldn't get any higher. So I'm thinking the top is in, and I'm interested in all pops and a possible swing. So that is my open breakdown. I did have one other trade today, was on TDTH. It just hit a price alert because it was the first time going red. This was from the watch list yesterday. I shorted some right into the hard crack. We got a spike, hard crack. I'm looking for lower highs and for it to take out these lows, but it swiped up through highs, so I took that cut, 1 hour loss. That immediately stuffed and then was back below these 230s, so I shorted. And then I added through lows, moved risk to the 250s. Got a flush red, covered about a third, reshorted pops with same risk, and then covered on the new low a day when it couldn't get any lower. I guess I had a little piece, maybe about a quarter left. But made back that gain and then a little bit, but it wasn't really anything to write home about. Like I was saying on the watch list yesterday, all of my focus and attention and size and everything was on open. I did not max out my buying power, but I kind of wanted to. It's hard to do in the moment. I was praying for a gap up. We got the gap up and already risking 10R off of 5 without even maxing out my buying power. But when I woke up in the morning, I woke up fairly early and I was thinking to myself, like, I got up right before 7. It's like 4 a.m. my time. It was right in like the 370 area. And I thought to myself, do I just put on as much size as I can right now and just like close my eyes and go back to bed? I thought about it. Short at 370, set a stop at 5 and come back at 10 a.m. and see what happens. I thought about it, but it's hard to do in the moment. Don't have those kind of cojones. So in terms of watches going into the rest of the week, BTOG, decent little save here off of its panic. So I think this one's worth a watch if it builds back through those 96s. Keep that one on watch with some price alerts. FFAI, this one is the former FFIE. If you remember it from back here, this was one of the comparisons I made to the open idea when it faded and we got that big gap up back into resistance. This is the highest odds short day, even higher than that day in my opinion. And you can see it just kind of gaps down and fizzles out. You get a little backside bounce and then it just fades off. But we're starting to run here again. This one does have a history of some multi-day runs, and it is a toxic diluter. So ideally, this runs for multiple days. It's up from 2 to 3. Excuse me. So not quite extended enough. Would need to see it at least get to 4. Could be like a shortened resistance play possibly, but we'll see. It's not extended enough. It's straight up today, but just percentage-wise, it's... I'm keeping it on a watch for, not tomorrow, but for maybe Thursday or Friday. GPRO, this thing is up prior close, like 130, 140, 70 cents. It's up like 50, 60, probably 60% here in after hours. So this will be multi-day runner here from 70 cents. Was up in like the 130s, 140s by close, and now it's up over 2. So I'm looking at this as an exhaustion gap. This is one of those names that I think is very similar to open. It's getting pushed by retail, and it trades super thick. Like you can see the action, like that is super thick. The tightness of, like if you were to short a lower high, 114 risking 119. Like you can risk 5 cents a share on something like this. You can get such tight risk. The spreads are so tight. You don't get those one candle wonders. This is the kind of action I love to trade, the small cap price range, but the real companies, the real liquidity. It makes my mouth start to salivate. So I definitely have this one on watch for the exhaustion gap tomorrow. Donut, this one's Krispy Kreme, same kind of idea, running huge here in after hours, was trending throughout the day and then starting to blow off. I'd need this one a bit higher. It's only up from 3 to 5, but again, it's just retail crowd. It's like COVID market all over again. If you remember Wish, Carvana, CEI, NAKD. There's a bunch of names that Zach Morris was pushing, and people just hopped from one to the next. Retail were chasing one name to the next. And I should also mention, speaking of jumping from one name to the next, part of the reason as well why I was adding to it and not just keeping this full-size position and actually adding to it was after open, the pumper on Twitter was actually mentioning other stocks, where he's only been mentioning this one since he started pushing it, and today he started to diversify into another couple. He didn't say that he was selling this, but he did start to say that he was buying some other names. So I felt like he's not all in on this one anymore, and retail could see that as a red flag. So basically, with open as the one where everyone was focused on, that was the small cap, big liquidity name that everybody was trading. And now we've got FFAI, GoPro, Donut, Kirk. We've got a bunch of these other names that are now starting to take volume away from open, volume, attention. So I think that helps the open fade thesis. But I also like when liquidity and retail is spread across multiple names, which you'll see it with gappers too. When you get like 3 or 4 100% gappers in the morning, it's a much higher odds fade than if you just had one gapper, then everybody's trying to trade that one. Where if you have 4, 5 gappers, they're all up over 100%. Everyone's just jumping from one to the next and chasing them all, and they end up trapping themselves and getting liquidity at volume at higher levels, and they're just bagged. So when you start getting so many names that people are just looking to catch the next open, then it's really tough for them, for retail to keep them up. Any good for screen days on watch? Daily breakouts, maybe ABVE or BTOG, but kind of far from breakout levels. ABVE, yeah, not really. That chart's kind of broken. I think I've got like $4 price alerts, but that's all I would really do on that one. BTOG, same kind of thing. Nothing I would buy right now, but set like a 90-cent price alert and just forget it. I did see, what was the ticker? Did I not write it down? Like PLRZ, I contemplated this one into close. So far it's working fairly well after hours, but you can see here it topped out 160, 130, 130, and then today it started to break out over these big volume levels. And if you zoom out, it doesn't have any volume past these days. So over 130s and definitely over 160s is a breakout. And it pushed up straight up into it, so not interested around here. And I kind of took it off radar throughout the rest of the day. Obviously, I was focused on open and trading remote. Mobile, I can't trade multiple names. But this is that setup that we've talked about here on the stream, where you get that key level on the daily, that 130 breakdown and instant reclaim. Now you've got really tight risk reward on any of these dips versus this low, risking 10 cents or something. And then once it breaks through 160s, I don't hate an add in after hours through those 160s and maybe move risk up to these 130s. You wouldn't be able to add much, but a possibility of pyramid. But I thought about it once I saw it, but because I missed this ideal entry, I just kind of let it be. But that's a little breakout trade if you're focused on breakouts. That's something you could have traded. And then let me just pull up my scan here. I saw one other name. It was kind of lighter volume, but the chart looked okay. LIXT, I think it was. It was an L name. Yeah. So this one only trade like 100K shares today. But it's definitely an ABC deer with a history of multi-day runs. So if you were to have a day that started churning some volume in pre-market and maybe get that 450 break, might be worth a watch. But again, I think I think focusing on names like Kurt, Donut, GoPro, stuff like this with real liquidity, I think is going to move the needle a lot farther than trying to hunt for these other names. GoPro's over the 52-week high. I believe it. Went on a tear. Yeah, like when was the last time it was here? March 2024. It's crazy. One day. Gets back to 1.5 years ago levels. What do I think of Diffie breakout? Are you talking DFLY? DFLI? The breakout? You must be talking about this volume day. It gapped up over the breakout level, so it's an immediate no-go for me. This red line, I think, was the breakout level. Roughly. 40 cents. Yeah, 40 cents. So... yeah, unfortunately until 9 a.m. Right around here, it was looking okay. And then right at 9 a.m., they pushed through it into open. It was already opening up above the breakout level, so that's an immediate no-go for me. But yeah, GoPro will be my main watch going into tomorrow, along with open. If open gaps down big enough, I would be open to a reversal tomorrow. If this were to gap down to like $2, I would be open to like an opening range break and look for that backside bounce back into 3. But as of where it is right now in the 270s, I don't have high hopes for a huge gap down. Pulled into the 250s. I contemplated a covering, was already up 50 cents a share in an hour, so... but plan was for a swing. I'll take it for whatever happens. So FFAI hopefully runs a bit higher. Kirk is getting there. 120 to 2 hopefully runs a bit higher. Donut getting into that 100% range. That'll be more of a gapper given that it closed at like 4, gapping up to like 6. It'll be up like 50%. Or GoPro running up into today is a bit nicer for me. How high do you think GoPro could go before it reverses? Yeah, like you say any guesses. That's all it is just a guess. There's no levels to really play off of. Like all the volume has been churning down here. So you got like this big base here at 4. I doubt it gets there, but that like 370, 380 level. It's already over this top in the 170s. We got this base and top here in the 240s. Does this thing have options? That might be able to help too. That was another thing with open, with all the options. I didn't know if those were going to come into play because they had like hundreds of thousands of contracts. GoPro. Any options on GoPro? Monthlies. Yeah. Nothing really significant. Got puts up to $4. It's like the $1. The $1.50 calls had 23,000 contracts traded. It's not bad. Overnight trading, GoPro's at 214. So it's still up. So yeah, not really options driven at all. It's just retail. Just retail as far as I know. Yeah. Big runner. Higher it gaps, the more I like it. Would use like, if it were to gap up close to pre-market highs, would use like a pre-market high clear out, wherever that ended up being. Ideally, it's up more than 60-70% by market open, would make it more ideal. But the higher it gaps, the harder I think it's going to be to sustain the gap. If we're opening a bit off of pre-market highs, I would look for opening range breakdowns rather than a high day clear out. But any of those typical entry triggers that I use, opening range breakouts, breakdowns, high day clear outs, all those sorts of things. Risk off of previous day's highs, pre-market highs, highs a day, something that tells me I'm wrong. Keep tagging your videos with tickers so you get more hits on your videos. Oh, is that how it works? Love the recaps and process. Thank you. Yeah, I have no idea. I've never really done this for views. So I just appreciate the few of you that come by, and the review helps me get prepared for the next day as well. I still do my nightly review, my nightly process, but speaking it and talking it through and answering questions and talking with other people helps me as well. So I've never really done it for views, just to help myself, number one, and then if anyone gets anything from it, that's a bonus. Cody was talking about GoPro a while back. Yeah, I believe it. But yeah, so open and GoPro will be my main two, and then hoping that these other super liquid names, thick ones, FFAI, Donut, PLRZ, Kirk, hopefully those ones keep going higher. Because I can only trade so many in a day. So GoPro is definitely the nicest. Open, I'll try to close out that position at some point tomorrow. And then ideally those other names continue to extend, and then I can trade the same setup as open that happened today as GoPro tomorrow, and then maybe like Kirk on Thursday. Like, just keep going down the line, ideally. Tina's always learning. Atta girl. Doing the Lord's work. That's funny. You bet you go on. No problem, guys. Happy to do it. Happy to do it. So that's all I've really got. Not a super extensive watch list. Just trying to do less is more, as I've got these ideal daily chart patterns where I'm not trying to spread myself thin across a bunch of names. Just trying to do less and focus the size on a few key ideas. Which, as I start to size up and get more comfortable with bigger size, I don't think I'm gonna have to trade as much. I think maybe, like, if I could get like an open a week, I'd be great. Maybe an open a month is more attainable, and just put some real size on something like that, and then not have to do all the day-to-day stuff. Just show up day-to-day and stay in tune with the market, but not have to trade all those C plus and B grade setups. Just wait for those A's. So that's the goal, but we'll see if we get there. But it's always a work in progress, like I was saying. Underperforming on these really stings. But is what it is. Alrighty, guys. I hope you have a great evening. I posted the... I can post it again. There's the watch list there from this morning with Investors Underground. Feel free to check that one out on Twitter. We did it free this morning, and I laid out the game plan on how I was looking to trade open ahead of time. So feel free to check that out there. I hope you guys trade them well. Hope you guys are doing well in this market. And I will see some of you in IU and the rest of you on the next video. Take it easy, guys. Peace.